I join with Deputy Bruton in making the same request before agreeing the order of business this morning. The report that has now been made available is shocking in what it tells us about a very shameful period in Irish history. The stories of over 1,000 victims, about how they were sexually abused in many cases, how the sexual abusers were protected, were moved from one institution to another by people who knew what they were doing, the degree of physical abuse that was inflicted on those children who were flogged, who weren't properly clothed, who weren't properly fed, who were emotionally and physically brutalised, the degree of bullying that took place, and in many cases, circumstances where children were abducted from their families and put into these institutions in a way to provide what can only be described as kind of headage payments for institutions by people who knew that those children were being abused, and the only reason that they were in those institutions was because they were from poor families. It was shameful what took place, and the way in which it was covered up, the way in which people in the then Department of Education knew about it, didn't do anything about it, colluded in it and destroyed lives. The least that those people deserve is to have the stories that they told to that tribunal and the conclusions that that inquiry drew from it. The least that they deserve is to have that discussed here in a way that will ensure that that shameful period in Irish history will be put behind us and lessons be learned from it. Now, I am a little surprised at the way the government is responding to the report. I was surprised this morning, for example, that the government had to be shamed into sending a representative onto the Morning Ireland programme to discuss it. I do want to know, and I'd like the Taoiseach to tell us, when we are going to have the debate that we need to have in the House on this report, first of all. Secondly, I think that the government should now state that it is going to reverse the cut of 2 million that it imposed on the redress board, indeed within weeks. I can't imagine what the government was thinking about in applying that cut a couple of weeks before this imminent report was due to be published. And we also need to have a mechanism whereby the indemnity deal that was negotiated or discussed and agreed between the then Minister for Education, Dr. Woods, and the religious orders on the day concluded apparently by Dr. Woods on the day before a new government was formed in 2002, was concluded in circumstances where no memo, we are told, was brought to government about that issue, where we are told that the then Attorney General was not directly involved in it, which has resulted in a set of circumstances that the contribution of the religious orders is capped at 127 million, but the amount which the taxpayer has had to pick up is almost 10 times that, now estimated at 1.2 billion. The report that was published yesterday concludes that the deferential, what it describes as the deferential and submissive attitude of the Department of Education towards the congregations compromised its ability to carry out its statutory duty in respect of the inspection and monitoring of the schools and in respect of its duty to the children. I would suggest that the same deferential and submissive attitude was alive and well when Dr. Woods concluded that agreement in 2002.